Well, John, right away the Hate Crimes Task Force went to work investigating to see if this was possibly the work of someone who had a bias motivation. However, right now, it does not appear to be racially motivated, despite the rash of attacks we have seen here in the Asian community within the last few weeks. This is more of that exclusive video of the suspect as he was being taken into custody not far from the scene. He's been identified as 23-year-old Salman Muflihi of Bensonhurst. Cops were called to the corner of Baxter and Worth Street around 6:30 when witnesses saw a man run up behind the Asian victim and suddenly stabs him in the back in an unprovoked incident. As the 36-year-old man collapsed on the sidewalk, the suspect then headed straight for the Manhattan District Attorney's office, just about a block away from here. That's where he surrendered to a security guard and confessed to the crime, according to police. Investigators from the Hate Crimes Division, who have been looking into a spate of these crimes targeting Asians, at this point don't believe it was racially motivated. Still, though, leaders of the local community are demanding more protection from the city.
An Asian person was being stabbed in the back, unprovoked. We have been seeing so many more attacks on Asians.
While this victim was last listed in critical condition, he is expected to survive. As for the suspect, he has been charged with attempted homicide. He does have a criminal history here in the city. He's been arrested for 3 prior crimes. He is expected to be due back in court later on today. Reporting live in Lower Manhattan, I'm Anthony DiLorenzo, Pix 11 News.
This microphone's bad as is. So what I'm gonna do tomorrow is hold on, testing 1 2 3, testing. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, now okay. Hold on just a second. This microphone sucks because you gotta hold it up like this in order to. No, this is not a microphone. This is not how a microphone should work. So, all right, it's a little better. Shout out to all the people who are joining us today. All right, so news at night. Let's continue with this story. All right, so the voice is a little, well, bear with me because honestly, all right, so the voice is low. You know what you can do to fix that? I'm not going to say anything in the comment section. There are those who support, but it's always the one. Anyway, I'm not going to even go there. News at night. Thank you for joining me. And this is something that we need to address. This is something that we specifically need to address as America. Okay, maybe this is a bit better. Nope, this is a bit, okay. Maybe this is a bit better. I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure if it isn't, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, come on. Is my voice better? Sheesh. All right, cool. So, welcome to News at Night. Actually, there we go. Welcome to News at Night. All right, testing. Okay, yeah. All right, now welcome to News at Night. So, the reason why I wanted to bring this up tonight is for an important reason, and not just because of the ongoing attacks. All right, there we go. The ongoing attacks that have been happening against the Asian American community, which should be a concern. Should be a real concern that anyone has, just because it's an attack on your fellow man. I mean, you will want that same concern on for you, honestly, regardless of what race you are, but especially in this day and age. The reason why I'm breaking this story up is because of the following. You have a lot of people here, and according to this report, yes, the individual who was seen here eventually arrested was someone who didn't look like a particular ethnic group of individuals. If you saw the story like this dude, like this guy right here, who sounds more Arab or Persian than anything else, Middle Eastern. However, this is not, as of right now, this is not the face of these anti-Asian assaults. It isn't, quite frankly. The sound, well, not the sound, but the face of the anti-Asian crimes that are happening tend to look like, let's just say it, black men. And guess who is getting the heat for this? Mostly black men. A lot of people don't want to face this. A lot of people don't want to deal with this harsh truth, but black men are now becoming, if they haven't already, the face of anti-Asian discrimination. And with that, I think there are a lot of things that are into play on why this is happening. Besides the obvious that the media wants to tell you that, they're attacking harmless people, they're attacking innocent people, which is true. They're attacking harmless people, which is true. They're attacking people who may have a questionable immigration status, which is true. They're attacking elderly people who can't defend themselves, which is true. All those things play a part in this. However, the thing that they don't want you to know is the following. As far as this is concerned, the reason why this story is getting out, especially in this day and age, is because there is a riff that the greater society wants to do when it comes to Asians and blacks. As if in America the riff is bad enough. I mean, you want to talk about a group of individuals who on average tend to, I hate to say it, be more weary of blacks than even whites. It's Asian Americans. You can throw Hispanics. I'll be honest, they're probably the least weary of blacks. At worst, they're on par with whites. But when it comes to Asian Americans and Asians and East and South Asians specifically, a lot of them tend to have an anti-black bias, whether they come to this country, by the time they come to this country, or after they settle here. And that's a reality that a lot of people do not want to admit, do not want to talk about. Why do we need to talk about this? Well, it's simple. Our reputation is already at an all-time low, and it seems to get lower with each and every day. And this is going to be one of the things that they'll use in order to drive that reputation even further down the hole. A lot of people are actually going to be excited about this, mainly your pro-wax, your daggles, your the far leftists and the far rightists, all of whom are vested in the misery of black men. And what does misery have to do with it? Well, the misery that black men have to burden themselves with not having people in order to socialize with. I honestly think that this is a true attempt in order to prevent black men, particularly thinking black men, from being able to associate, befriend, and yes, date people of certain other ethnic groups. I think this is a a scathing attack against black men who wish to do so. I think this is one of the main reasons why all of these cases, and these are legitimate cases, but I think there is a main reason why a lot of these cases are being heightened is because of that reason. America has it in its interest in order to keep black men, particularly productive black men, in their place, as they like to say. And any sort of attempt to leave that place, that mental place, whether it's a Pookie and Ray Ray image or the hood image or that sort of thing, they don't like it. They don't like it, and they don't like the blacks who rise above it and become exemplary citizens. And these exemplary citizens, for the most part, at least throughout the world outside of the United States, they tend to get an exception. They tend to get a pass, and they tend to be seen as more than black, if not black at all. And that angers a lot of people, particularly a lot of people who need an underclass, need a scapegoat or boogeyman to push all their personal problems on and to have all their BS covered up in. They need that, and they need the black men to be the criminal of this, which is what they're trying to do, which stinks to the real underclass, mediocre Negro, the real baby kid, the real mongrel, minstrel, and savage. They are getting help with just that. Now, I'm not saying the entire Asian American community is like this, particularly, the Asian American community, even though I'll be honest, they tend to be the most hateful out of all the Asian groups that I've met, especially here in California, particularly Northern California. And it's not all of them, but it's too many for me to really, at this point, just start really caring. It's too many, that too much bad taste in my mouth, in my personal opinion, my personal experience. And as I said, this is not all of them. This is definitely not all of them, but it's too much. And yes, as I said, they have a part in it, and their part is to basically use not all, just the ones who have shown hatred towards blacks. But those who have shown this hatred, basically what they're trying to do is just trying to fit in with white American society, or at the very least keep what they perceive as their place in the United States society. And I think a lot of them perceive that the more that they hate blacks, the more that they can smooge their way on in or keep their place in the United States totem pole of social hierarchy. So, and also a part of it is the legitimate riff-raff that has gone on around. I mean, and a lot of people in the community will say, "Oh man, these little maggots, they do it to everyone. They do it to everyone. So what's the difference? It isn't a race. They're just vulnerable." Well, you know what? That's that attitude that has gotten us to where we are today, with being seen as the criminal and as the boogeyman of the United States of America. Just to shrug it off, just to say it's no big deal, just to blame everything on white supremacy. See, a lot of what these mediocre Negroes, these baby kid damage controllers are doing, they're basically are doing the same thing that a lot of non-blacks are starting to do to all blacks. And I mean, when you have two sides playing that game, let's be honest, who's really going to win that one? And what's going to be the result of the victor and of the loser? But let's go through some of these other stories on what's really going on out here. Now, this story, and it's interesting, it's the same story, but this one, unlike the Daily Mail, which is a UK site, well, it is from Pixel 11, but this one, of course, when it's a non-black person, I'll just save you the story. This website, this news station, they didn't want to show the identity of the individual who committed this crime. Although if it was a black person, oh yeah, you bet they would have showed his ass off for the entire world to see. But that's just a side note. But let's see, well, actually, let's go to this.
Asian hate crimes are increasing all across the country. Since the start of the pandemic, thousands of incidents have now been reported. Today, a group of activists gathered in Chinatown to make people aware of what they're going through.
You know, when I see these attacks continue to happen, and they're targeted attacks, it makes me think, you know, I can't be seeing this happen to my parents, my grandparents.
Young Jin said he has experienced racism all his life, and he hopes that making people aware of this issue.
All right, so now, when you have individuals basically speaking out, doing the same thing that a lot of black Americans have been doing, protesting, marching, that sort of thing. When you have one group of individuals who are seen as the lower class, as the underclass, as the criminal class, and one group of individuals who are seen as a model minority, who do you think people are actually going to believe and listen? And yeah, and a lot of people say, well, we've always been looked at that. You know what? I see that as more damage controlling. Honestly, do not save me the pro-black crap tonight. Seriously, I'm not in the mood. But look, as far as this is concerned, the difference between then and now is that they didn't have evidence back then like they do now. They didn't have the Negro underclass and the baby's kids and doing the riff-raff then like they do now. That's the difference. So just save it. But yeah, see, this is what happens when you allow your riff-raff class in order. And this is what happens when you allow your riff-raff class to determine who you are. And I had a talk with someone. I'm not going to even mention the name. I mean, no shots at him personally, but I mean, at this point, the way his audience has responded to the hangout we did, and the way he has responded to how an attack was done on me personally, you know what? I'm at this point where it's like, you know what? Do not associate me with the Black Manosphere. Do not say I'm a part of it. Do not. Just do not. Save the shit. Seriously, save it. Because it's more trouble than what it's worth. I don't get crap. I don't get recognition there. Anyway, that's a side note. I'm not going to go in there. The main point is this. When it comes to the anti-Asian hate crimes, it is a real thing. It's a real thing that needs to be taken into consideration. It's a real thing that needs to be paid attention to. And it's something that we all need to stand against. Just like we would in the case of a legitimate anti-black hate crime. Or an anti-whatever hate crime. That is what humanity is about. Now, I know a lot of people in the black manosphere and the white manosphere want to sell you tribalism and all this other goofy nonsense. Well, you know what? Tribalism is for the weak. Tribalism is for those who can't function together. And tribalism is for those who need a leg up because their own skills suck. They wouldn't be able to survive in a true society where meritocracy ruled the day. These are the individuals who are trying to speak up for all of us. And these are the individuals who, quite frankly, I mean, you want to talk about the First Amendment and free speech. I mean, and you're talking about having all these Alex Jones and Donald Trump's being taken down because they trolled one too many times on Twitter. What about these individuals who are trying to push their little tribalism, ethno-nationalism? They get to speak. They get to speak. People who are actually saying racist things get to speak while people who are paid to troll people get taken down. You know, save it. Anyway, let's go on ahead to another story. Actually, a story where it's actually gonna be a bit more better. Actually, let's go to this. Let me see if
craving an adventure.
All right. Once that commercial passes, then the story will show you this story and then another one that I have. No, we aren't doing commercials here. Apparently, this website makes you watch the commercials. It's a crock.
Virus outbreak began, Dr. Sherry Wang wrote an op-ed addressing the virus of racism.
It was really an op-ed for my Asian American community.
Actually, is this the story I want? Hold on, this is not this. I mean, it's an important story. I have the link there, but this is actually the story I wanted to show you all. After this commercial. Of time, I do want. Here we go.
Say that the situation has improved, but unfortunately, I think it's gotten worse.
Dion, it's so good to check in with you here after all the...
All right, so as far as this is concerned, look, just to prove all of you that the black man is basically being painted as the face of an anti-interracial crime. They do not have black people dialoguing with Asians in order to discuss this. Look at the people who are truly showing sympathy, bleeding liberals, like not that fake bleeding liberal stuff you saw during this BLM protest. And this is legit liberal. We care about said individual being attacked. And who's the face of it? The same face that America wants to push damn near all Asian women to marry. Which, I mean, nobody sees this. Nobody see. I'm not gonna. Let's go.
These months.
Same. I wish it was under better circumstances.
I know. And talk about those circumstances. You've been relentless in your coverage of what's going on in Chinatown, in San Francisco, in the broader community. What are you seeing?
We are now seeing cases of discrimination and hate and xenophobia. Daily, in a span of 3 days, we had an incident involving 2 Asian American senior citizens who were assaulted on the street. We had a case of 2 South Asian women who were attacked while walking in their very safe neighborhood. And then most recently, a woman and her 10-year-old daughter, they were told to go back to China and that they didn't belong.
Yeah, it's just so shocking. Why do you think it's such a major issue now, a national one, and so much of the coverage is coming out of San Francisco?
We're seeing activism at a level that we've never had before. Since when do you see thousands of Asian Americans marching down the street with signs chanting? That is not in our MO usually. Growing up, I was always told, keep your head down, your nose clean, and that is the way to success. But now we're starting to feel it. The momentum is building, and it's an exciting time. Our people are being attacked. We are being set on fire. We are being assaulted in the broad daylight. For what? For just being Asian. And I think we've reached a fever pitch now where we cannot stay silent any longer.
Incredible energy there and a movement building. And one of the things that I learned was that Asian Americans are the fastest growing demographic in the United States. And how do you think that's going to impact the broader culture and be a benefit, even though there's obviously some groups that raise concerns around that?
With the growing Asian American population, I would expect a growing understanding for people who are not Asian American to maybe open their eyes a little bit more and realize that the person that is next to them very well might have a story where they have been targeted, where they have been a victim of discrimination. And when you put a face to it, it makes these issues come alive.
Well, thank you for sharing so many of these powerful stories, and I see it on my feed, and I'm just stopped in my tracks to see both the level of racism that is going on, but also those moments of redemption and people saying, I'm going to get through this, we're going to build back. So thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for chatting with us today.
And Kelly Mia walking the streets of Oakland into the nighttime hours, specifically Oakland's Chinatown, the outlying streets after at least 3 vicious attacks on seniors. Their message is a simple one.
We out here too, try to protect. I don't want nobody coming over here with the bad intention and try to hurt somebody. We're not about that.
We here to make sure nobody get robbed.
Monday, the Alameda County District Attorney announced 3 assault charges against Yahya Muslim, the guy suspected of violently pushing this 91-year-old man to the ground. New Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong coming out swinging, addressing the community on the same day he was sworn in.
We know that they target our elderly. We also know that they come because they believe that our community won't report it to police. We are excited to say that we've already begun to transition into new strategies to help make Chinatown a safer community.
The new Oakland Police Chief promising that additional resources will be available to residents reporting crimes. Monday evening, a virtual meeting was held to talk about safety in the Chinatown community. Already, several groups like this have stepped up and vowed to keep a better eye on the area, help citizens, and donate money.
As far as I know, there will be at least about 8 groups already.
2 Asian American actors have spotlighted the current struggle for Asians here in the Bay and beyond. Daniel Wu spoke Monday afternoon in Oakland.
Racist rhetoric from, the pandemic has targeted us as being, the reason for coronavirus. And so Asians across the board have been targeted by racial slurs, being attacked, being pushed around, being spat on.
Boon Pengzi says his family came from Laos and he will no longer stand by and watch without doing anything.
It's important to me because I think we all should unite as one and stop the violence. I don't know what's going on, so I can't allow that to happen anymore under my watch.
J.R. Stone, ABC 7 News.
These are unprecedented times for
All right, there we go. So we just saw 2 stories in which you had individuals who were advocating on the behalf of these Asian Americans and are speaking against these crimes and are helping people within the community to protect themselves. However, guess who you didn't see when it came to people who were trying to defend them? Blacks, especially black men, which I already said, this is for a reason. This is intentional in my opinion, and I'm not trying to trivialize the attacks that are going on here. I do not condone these attacks. I don't damage control these attacks. I'm not going to say something along the lines of all races do it too, and they're just covering it. You know what? Yeah, there are a good amount of Asians who aren't going to talk about these anti-white things because they want to play. They're playing the game. They're playing the American game, and America is a corporation. American's a game, and if you don't know how to play it by now, or if you just are tired of playing it like myself, make moves to move. There's your solution right there. For all of you who stayed for the solution, here you go. 1, make sure you stand out against the riff-raff. I've said this in multiple videos, but nobody wants to listen. That's fine. Stand out against the riff-raff. Number 2, do not support, condone, or try to mimic riff-raff culture in any sort of way possible. If no black men, because a lot of people say, well, guess what? There are white people doing it too. White people. You know what? You don't see Hispanic people doing it. You don't see Indian people doing it. You don't see Pacific Islanders doing it. Hell, most of those people you see who are helping Asians. I mean, you have random ass Hispanic dudes trying to help, like Jacob Azevedo. Exactly. He used stomach with all the BS that happened. He decided to be a part of this new thing with helping elderly Asian Americans to escort them and volunteering to keep them safe. That's a Latino dude. You saw that other white guy who was interviewing the Asian chick about what was going on there, and I'm assuming she was really flattered that he took the time to do so. But who's missing here? Who's missing when it comes to trying to clean our name, trying to clean our reputation? People better wake up. People in this nation better wake up and start realizing that this isn't a joke. This isn't a game. You can't just go around and expect people to feel sorry about your issues if you are damage controlling. riff-raff. And shout out to Darkman Jeff with the $4.99 super chat. Something for the clutch. Hey, thanks, Darkman Jeff. I mean, I know this is a low night. A lot of people don't want to hear this truth, but I really appreciate you for supporting. I figured, I'm surprised I got any super chats tonight, especially with this message. But yeah, with that being said, look, people have to wake up, particularly blacks. And black women don't want to do it, then black men need to do it. Wake up to our reputation, call out the Dusties, call out Dusty culture, and anything that resembles that. You have someone who's using inarticulate language, call them out for it. If you have someone who's using AAVE slang, call them out for it. I don't care. This is the 11th hour, and a lot of people are treating it as if this is a game, this is a joke, and that they themselves are the only ones who are going to face any sort of repercussions. Guess what? In the United States of America, all blacks are included into one big N word. And yeah, there are places where it happens less, and there's a less severe degree of it, but I hate to say it, places that have a less severe degree of it are places that just have less blacks, particularly less blacks in a metropolitan area. And I'm not going to go through where I lived and where I felt the least hated. I mean, it's sad and I had to say it like this, but those are just the facts. And there's this underclass culture of individuals who basically want to be gang and all this sort of silly nonsense. Well, gang is resulting in a bunch of the BS you see here. Gang is resulting in this. Gang is resulting. Yeah, you're seeing the result of gang. You're seeing the result of hood culture. You're seeing the result of Pookies and Shaniquas, Bebe's kids, and Bebe kid wannabes. People were imitating Bebe kid culture. This is the result you're seeing. And quite frankly, I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting sick and tired of it. I'm getting sick and tired of lumping into it. And to be honest, if I wasn't associated with the so-called community culture just by default, I would just live my life. I mean, and it's amazing enough how low pressure it is, but that's because I actually don't live by the hog mog diet. That's a whole nother subject. But trust me, if I wasn't a part of this, I wouldn't care either way. I'd say, let them take their lives. Let them do whatever they want to themselves. That would be my honest attitude. Only reason why I can't do this half the time is because I'm lumped into this. But if I ended up in the place where I wasn't lumped into it, oh man, I'd be done. I'd be done. But yeah, with that being said, for those who care, for those who want to make a difference, be proactive in showing that you aren't the kind of individual. And the Geo Scholar with the $10 super chat, shout out to you. As a side note, the black population in California is declining, and it isn't the underclass that's leaving California, it's the middle class and educated that are leaving California. And as someone who is of that latter class who moved to California, ironically, I can tell you that is the absolute truth. A lot of blacks who are in California are not either, they aren't part of the 20th century California that helped build the black middle class, which that's another untold story here. A lot of black wealth in the 20th century was created in places like California, places where, yeah, it wasn't perfect by any means, but there wasn't state-sanctioned Jim Crow. There wasn't state-sanctioned witch hunts against blacks. As a matter of fact, it was actually Asians and Latinos who got it more in certain parts of California than blacks. That's the thing they really don't want to tell you. But what happened? What happened? Hell, you had more black people were attending UCLA and UC Berkeley in the majority of the 20th century. It wasn't until this riff-raff culture started to dominate black America, and a lot of black Americans co-signed it. That is when this stuff, this began. And that's what fostered what we see here today. And a lot of people just don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that because, just like what I said earlier this week in the other hangout, in the other hangout, I'll just say that. No, as I said, I'm ambivalent at this point. At that part of the man, don't get me started. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, yeah, a lot of people do not want to face the truth, and that this culture needs to be cleaned up. And you know what? A lot of people say, oh, they're racist towards us. They're racist. You know, yeah, the ones who come here, they may play the game. And I'm not saying kiss their ass by any means. If they want to give you the snide eye, then don't deal with them. Don't go in their stores. Don't advocate for them. Fine. All right, whatever. But don't contribute to it neither. Don't say, if you're going to say something bad about them, you got to call out the riff-raff equally as well. Both sides are at it. And you know what? In a way, I'm with you on that. In the Bay Area right now, outside of the actual victims, I could give two damns about either side. This isn't advocating for one side or the other. This isn't playing favorites or whatever. This isn't strategically placing myself in one position to get in the good graces of a woman of particular races. No, that's not what I'm playing. At this point, I can care less about either side. I can don't come to the Bay Area. If you're a black man, do not come to the Bay Area unless you are really ready to mentally prepare yourself to be isolated, because you have just you have riff-raff on one side, riff-raff that is celebrated in the guise of culture, and I mean my culture, just blowing up the car with just music playing, blasting all freaking night, as if no one has to do anything. You have that. You have obviously the super limousine liberal whites. You have Hispanics who, I mean, they're the least, I'll be honest, out here they're the least racist, but even then you still have your Killamayate places like Salinas. Don't get me started. And then you have this. You have Asians who feel like as if blacks don't work hard and they're jealous, and those are the ones who are trying to be somewhat neutral. The ones who are outright hating blacks, have outright hatred for black men. They're the ones who are trying to play this game in order to impress whites. Oh yeah, there's plenty of that up here. So in the Bay Area, do not waste your time coming up here unless you are getting a substantial amount of money or a substantial amount of clout that you can elevate yourself above that. And no, 6 figures is not going to cut it. $150,000, $200,000 may not cut it. You got stories of doctors out here giving crap and having, you got entire boards dropping because they hire one black person to be part of a medical board. That's the type of crap that happens out here in the Bay Area. Club Fortune, Osaragi 112258 with $5 says, I will never forget one of my friends telling me that I wasn't the stereotypical black, and you shouldn't forget. The problem is that most of America either doesn't see you as that non-stereotypical black, or they don't want to see you as that non-stereotypical black. And that is the issue that we have right here. We don't have enough black people. We don't have enough black people trying to condone or condemn, I should say, hood culture. They aren't trying to condemn hood culture. They aren't trying to condemn pookie culture. They aren't trying to condemn this riff-raff. They're trying to mimic it. If they aren't the ones doing this crap themselves, they're mimicking it. I'll show you this. I'll show you all the stuff that I'm doing. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, this is no joke. This is no joke. These individuals, well, multiracial senior aid. Okay, well, it says a multiracial senior aid, but look at the multiracial. Okay, this is a bit encouraging right here. This is a bit encouraging only because of this dude right here. Although, look at this. I mean, for all we know, he's biracial. He may even be half Asian, Blasian. But I'm encouraged with news like this. Multiracial aid, mutual aid, help Chinatown senior citizens, Asian American communities. So even it says black, so it must be multiracial. There's no actual story behind it. Okay, so you got to read this. So I'll just put this as part of my description. But yeah, I just want to have this be the picture of the assistance that is being given to a lot of people right now. And to a lot of people say, well, they didn't help us during well, you all decided to bag Black Lives Matter. You all said Black Lives Matter was legitimate before it showed its ass. So, I mean, I don't want to hear anyone who says they didn't help black people. You all were the same ones who are talking about Black Lives Matter and not trying to make an alternative. Not black men's lives matter. Not thinking black men's lives matter. We were cool with Black Lives Matter, the message, but not the organization. You weren't doing that. So now that you have a multiracial mutual aid with this, do not complain. But as I was saying, for those who are really just tired and fed up of the riff-raff culture, I'm just going to say this. Differentiate yourself as much as you can, even in the country that tries to paint all of us in the same light. And a lot of people who tend to hate, if you have people who hate you, if you want to go to a place where you're only like 2% of the population, tell them it's because of mental health insanity. It isn't because of women. It isn't because of anything like that. No, it's not that silly crap. It's because of your mental sanity. Because wouldn't you want to live in a place where you aren't seen as the face of crime and poverty? Isn't that the right of every man who works a day in his life, who does an honest day's job, is to just be seen, not even as special, have his ass kicked, but just normal, just regular, just basic. I mean, freaking A. In any case, with that being said, I'm just going to leave you all with this, and that given the current predicament that we have, I don't see a lot of hope, and I don't see any good coming out of this. At best, this may blow over for another news story, particularly something that will paint black men in the worst picture. But for all of you who can, for all of us who can, make your plans to leave the United States. That's honestly the ultimate solution that I have before. This is the ultimate solution I have before America decides to implement its ultimate solution. And I'm not going to go into my thoughts of that, but a lot of people think this is a joke. Well, guess what? It's been the 11th hour. It's been the 11th hour 61 minutes ago. So what are we going to do about changing our predicament? Well, not even predicament. Forget predicament. It's not about the group. The group is done. The community is done. It's finished. What are you going to do to help yourself? What are you going to do to help your own life? What are you going to do to protect yourself, your lineage, and your life against those who will see you as part of the riff-raff and will try to deal with you as such? This is serious. I don't say this with any glee. I don't say this with any joke. This isn't a joke. This isn't a gender war. This is beyond that bull crap. This is serious. These attacks are serious. Don't get me wrong. These attacks are serious and they're heinous. But just as serious is the picture and painting that these attacks are painting black men as. Not other men. They aren't going to go after other men for this. They're going to even try to show the face of non-black men who do these attacks. They're going to show your black ass. And then what? Huh? Now, if all black men were to stop doing this, for some reason, I think the mainstream media will stop covering these. So, and they'll probably just try to find something else to cover and blame us on. You know what? Fine. You want to keep playing that game, marching, trying to damage control and say, oh man, I was treated wrong. They gave me a dirty look in the 7-Eleven store when I was 13 years. Okay, you know what? You can play that game. But the rest of us who are tired of that, we're moving on. Move on. And yes, that means moving on from this country, or at the very least moving on from states that have this mix of just people who are trying to kiss white ass by being racist towards blacks and a bunch of baby's kids running around trying to make everyone look bad. So if you want to say that's saving yourself, then so be it. Save yourself from stuff that you aren't doing, so be it. Do whatever you got to do in order to escape the BS. And everyone else out there, always bet